There is a certain kind of person that the world consistently underestimates. They don't argue. They don't defend themselves. They don't beg for attention or understanding or validation. Instead, at some point, they simply go quiet, and most people around them never truly understand what that silence actually means. They assume it means weakness. They assume it means the person has given up, shut down, or simply lost. But psychology tells us something completely different. The people who go quiet are usually the ones who have felt too much for too long. They are the ones who explained themselves 100 times and were never truly heard. They are the ones who cried in private, held it together in public, and slowly, without anyone noticing, decided that some battles are not worth fighting out loud anymore. This is not shutdown. This is not giving up. This is a person learning to protect their own peace. Psychologists call this emotional conservation. It is the mind's instinctive decision to stop expending energy on situations or people that have consistently returned nothing. Think of it this way. Every time you argue, explain, defend, or react, you use emotional energy. And for most people, that energy gets replenished through connection, through being understood, through resolution. But what happens when that connection never comes? What happens when you explain and they dismiss? When you open up and they use it against you? When you try and they simply don't care? The mind adapts. It learns. And eventually it stops reaching, not out of coldness, not out of cruelty, but out of pure psychological self-preservation. From the outside, this silence can look like a lot of things. It can look like coldness, like this person suddenly stopped caring about everything and everyone around them. It can look like arrogance, like they think they are too good to engage, too proud to explain themselves. And sometimes, to the people who hurt them, it looks like punishment, like silence is a weapon being deliberately used against them. But here is what is actually happening inside that quiet person's mind. They have simply decided that their energy is too valuable to spend on explanations that will never be received properly, that their peace is more important than being right. Now here is what most people get completely wrong about silence. We have been conditioned our entire lives to believe that the loudest person in the room is the most powerful. That dominance is expressed through argument, through reaction, through making sure everyone knows exactly how you feel at all times. But the most emotionally intelligent people in any room are almost always the ones watching, observing, processing quietly while everyone else reacts. Research in emotional intelligence consistently shows that the ability to regulate your own emotional response, to choose silence over reaction, is one of the highest forms of self-control a human being can demonstrate. It takes far more strength to stay silent in a moment that deserves a reaction than it ever does to simply react. There is a specific moment that many quiet people describe, a turning point. It is the moment they realized that no amount of explaining was going to change how certain people saw them, that no amount of openness was going to be met with the understanding they deserved. And in that moment, they made a decision. Not a dramatic one, not an angry one, just a quiet, deeply internal decision that they were done, carrying the weight of trying to be understood by people who were never willing to try. And something interesting happens. When a person makes that decision, they stop leaking energy into situations that don't deserve it. They stop seeking validation from people who were never going to give it. They stop explaining themselves to people whose understanding was never going to make a difference anyway. And as a result, they become formidable. Not loud, not aggressive, not reactive, just deeply, quietly, immovably strong. Now, it is important to say this clearly. Not all silence is healthy. There is a difference between choosing silence as a form of emotional wisdom and retreating into silence because the pain has simply become too heavy to carry alone. One is a strategy. The other is a symptom. And the people around someone who has gone quiet have a responsibility, not to punish that silence, not to weaponize it, but to gently, quietly check in without demands, without conditions. If you are someone who has gone quiet, I want you to know something. Your silence is not emptiness. It is not indifference. It is not weakness. It is the sound of someone who has finally chosen themselves, who has decided that their peace, their energy, their inner world are worth protecting. The world will not always understand that. Some people will call it coldness. Some will call it pride. Some will call it giving up. Let them, because the quietest people in the room are often carrying the most, surviving the most, and growing the most in complete, deliberate silence. That is the psychology of people who go quiet. If this video made you feel understood, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe to Cairo for more videos on the hidden patterns of the human mind. I will see you in the next one.